Hello and welcome to Wildcarding Part 2. It's not quite the Part 2 I had intended because I actually missed one of the sections in the previous part. It was a 40-minute video anyway, so it's probably a good job that I missed it. I didn't deal with this funny thing, the two parentheses used in wildcards, and I'll do that in a minute. First of all, I left you with a puzzle, and that was this. We had, if you remember, we were looking at A to Z and a one comma meaning, find at least one of those followed by ing. So what we were trying to do was to look for participles, and we used this one. So when I click on the macro instant find down wild, it will take that find and replace. You can just see that it's in the it is in the find and replace box there, just to reassure you what I'm doing. So I ran the macro and it found caring, being, blah blah blah. So it found various of those. However, this one, which looks remarkably similar, if I try that one, it says bong, which means I can't find any. Are we sure? Is something going wrong? Let's have a look in there. There's the wildcard find. Wildcards is ticked, so if I say find next, it says no, I can't find any. Right, why not? Okay. I think the easiest way to show you the problem is if I bring in some words, just so that they're immediately to hand. It's an illustration of how useful the instant wildcard down macro is, because when you're trying to diagnose what's wrong with a wildcard find, it's useful to be able to do it bit by bit. So if I just check that first bit and do a wildcard down on that, it finds ing, okay. So it finds caring, sharing, inspiring. But what we're saying in this one is find something, find this expression, and it must be followed by ing. So when it finds caring, caring is not followed by ing. However, if we look for that one, then it will find the first one, and it will find some more as well if needed. It'll find the A and the R in order to find the whole of caring. So that's why the first one didn't work and the second one did. I meant to say that I've decided not to bother with the thumbnail picture of me because it's just one more thing for me to think about or to distract me while I'm trying to record. So, and I don't think it helps you particularly to be able to see me making funny faces, so I've left it off. Right, so we're going to look at the parentheses, and if we look at the find and replace box, special, and it usefully tells us that the parentheses represent expression. Well, that's not terribly helpful. What is an expression anyway? Well, I just used the word expression when I was talking about this puzzle. I said that is an expression that we're looking for, and we can find it. So expression is a bit of code finding something. So as an illustration, something to work on, let's get rid of that. Let's work on this here. So right, our aim in this find and replace is to find international standards, things like BS 524 and ISO whatever. They're supposed to have spaces between the code, between the letters and the number, and being neat and tidy and helpful to the typesetter, I'm going to use a hard space, a non-breaking space, the symbol for which is, we can see, special non-breaking space is a caret S. Right, so the first part of the item that we're trying to look for is some uppercase letters, so we can use this expression. There we go, that will find those. And the second part of it is some numbers, so we can use that expression. Alright, and the two follow one another. So we're going to look for the A to Z followed by the number. So let's try that one. So we get that, that and that. That's fine. So what we're going to do is, or what we want to do, is to divide those two expressions by a non-breaking space, fixed space. So if we have this expression here, a long expression, we want it in 2 bits. We want the first bit, the first expression, so we put brackets around that, and the second expression, brackets around that. And what we want then to do is to say, well, we want to replace it by the first expression, that one, and then a hard space, a fixed space, and then the second expression. And in wildcard find and replace speak, we write that as \1, in other words the first expression, and then caret S for our fixed space, and then \2 for our second expression. So that's the find, and that's the replace. We're now going to actually do that, and I'm going to do it with Fredit. So I've got to turn that into one big Fredit find and replace. So a find and replace is something like some text on this side, followed by a pad a vertical bar, and that's the replace. So it's the find and replace. That's the pattern we use in Fredit. So let's start with this. We've got that's our find, and then we have a vertical bar, and this is our replace. Okay, all a bit messy with all the different highlighting, so let's highlight the whole thing in one colour. Let's use turquoise, and then let's try and run it and see if these 3 get changed. I'll tell you what, let's put those in a separate file just for the moment so we can see them. Okay, so we try and run this find and replace. It says, yep, done it, but it hasn't made any changes. Why not? And the answer is that this is not an ordinary find and replace, it's a wildcard find and replace. So we have to tell Fredit that that's what we're doing. So we have to put a tilde in front to say the rest of this line is a wildcard find and replace. So let's try that, see if it's any better. Yep, it looks good. It seems to have changed them, it's highlighted them. And let's turn the visible formatting on. So you've got this character here, which is the fixed space. And so you can use watchar to tell you what it is. Yes, it's a non-breaking space. That's all right. So that's done what you want. Okay, let's get rid of that, and let's try it on the file itself and see how we get on with that. So run Fredit, and it's changed those. Now, has it changed anything else, I asked myself, and the answer is yes. Unfortunately, it's changed these postcodes because those fitted the pattern we were talking about. and the pattern was a set of uppercase characters and a set of numbers, and yes, those fit the pattern. Okay, and it hasn't caught these ones down here, which have got spaces in, and those we want those converting to fixed spaces, please. So we'll need to think about that as well. So let's see how we can improve things. Let's undo that. Okay, so to avoid these ones here, we need to be more specific, let's say, with the way we specify the expression. If I'll work on this one here as a way of showing you what's going on. For the moment, let's get rid of the highlighting so we see it more clearly. So first of all, it's 2 or more characters. So does that help? No, not particularly. Well, what we could do is to say, well, okay, let's only have a certain number of a certain set of characters. We could have a B and an S and an I and an O and an E and an N. So you can not I, yes I. So we're finding just the characters that fit in there. And okay, well, let's try that. So highlight that so we can see what it's doing and run that. It's done those, that's alright. Let's open that up a bit. It's done those, that's alright. And it didn't do the NR ones because of the letter R was not in the set of characters that you've got there. So you can refine the search in order to make sure you don't get any false positives. Right, and so that's for the where there is no space at the moment. So what we can also then do is to, if I just undo that one, what we can also do is copy it, paste it. We can do a second one where the 2 expressions are separated by a space, so then those 2 expressions are going to be separated by a hard space instead. So if we try running that, so what have we got? We've got all 4 of those done, all 6 of those rather, and the NRs were not done, so that was alright. Okay, so I'll just do one more example. Let's move that out of the way. Let's have a new file, and let's look at our example text. What I want to look at is some names, and we've got Smith, John, Brown, Fred, and so on, and we want to switch those round. So we look at the formatting and we see we've got tabs there. So let's think of a way of doing this. Let's get rid of that. So we can start by just doing the finds here. So what are we doing? We want some names. So no, I don't want that one. I just want that. So if we're looking for names, then make that a bit bigger. There we go. So uppercase and lowercase letters, and we want 1 or more. So how does that help us? Yep, that gives us the Smith. Those are the names. And that expression will give us the names we want. And it gives us both sets, the Christian name and the surname. So we need to specify the gap in between. So it's a tab character in between, so we use ~T for tab character, and we copy that, so it's the same expression for both. So let's try that. So okay, that's going to identify those lines. So let's move this over into the Fredit window, the window that we're going to use as the Fredit list. So what do we want as a result? We want to change it into we want the second name and then the first name. So we want \2. Then what we're going to have in between, well, let's have the tab again, and then \1. So let's just try that, make sure we have got a working system. So we try that, and we've done it again. It's the same, it's a wildcard find and replace. So pop the tilde in front just to turn it into a wildcard. And it says there's more replace groups than find groups, because we still haven't got this right. We have tried to change things. We talked about excuse me, talked about one expression followed by another expression, but we didn't actually identify those as expressions. So I've got to identify that expression with brackets, with parentheses, and I've got to identify that. So, oops, not there, there. That is the second expression, so let's just change the colour of that one. So you've got two separate expressions there, and each is in parentheses, and then the numbers 2 and 1 are going to be in the answer there. So that's what we're trying to do. So let's see if that works. Okay, so it's turned those round. So you can change the order of things. You might not want all of the items. Suppose that it was forename, middle name, surname, and we just wanted the forename and surname. So we could have, we would have 3 expressions, 1, 2 and 3, but in the replace we would just have the first and the third, because that's all we needed. Right, so that gives you an idea of some of the things you can do with the parentheses for expressions, and that'll do for now, and I'll come back with part 3, in which I'm going to look at some of the find and replaces, wildcard ones obviously, in the library, in the Fredit library, go through a few of those and see what they do, just to try to illustrate some of the different things that you can do. And obviously the library is there for you to pinch bits out of to put in your own Fredit lists, but in order to help you understand, I'll go through some of those and explain them. Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you. Bye.